everybody, and welcome back to the stream. It's Tuesday, and you know what that means. It's time for Perpetual Motion, the class where we never stop moving. It's our first Perpetual Motion of 2021. How's everybody doing? How is the new year treating you so far? It seems really weird and kind of silly to keep asking that, considering that we're only 5 days into the new year, but you know what? A lot of things can change in 5 days. So I still think it's a valid question. I hope that the first 5 days of 2021 have been treating you well, have been helping to energize and reinvigorate you. And yeah, I don't know, make you feel maybe a little more hopeful and optimistic. Big shout outs to my friends and viewers and loved ones in the state of Georgia today. Sure, that's a fun time. Get out and vote if you haven't already, but I'm sure you all have. Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot to be dealing with. Everything feels like a lot to be dealing with. But you know, I've been looking back at the last 5 days and just I feel like I'm doing a really good job of paying attention to the truth of my needs, the actual kernel at the center that's like, this is the actual cause, rather than treating symptoms, trying to treat the root cause. And it's definitely led to a reinvigoration of writing and reading and singing and moving and all of this stuff, which feels really awesome. It feels invigorating in a way that, just sort of mindlessly staring at the same YouTube video I've watched 20 times over does not feel invigorating. So I am trying to take, what I'm trying to tell you is that I am trying to take the advice I'm always giving you. I am trying to learn how to listen to the signals that my brain and my body are sending me about what I actually enjoy, what motivates me, what moves me, what makes me feel more confident, more focused, more present. It's going to be a long process. It's not something that you just are like, all right, done. 5 days is all it took, because that's ridiculous. And, when we start new habits, or new rituals, or new practices, more often than not, we have many, many years of fear and doubt that we need to push through. Or not even push through, it's the wrong metaphor, that we need to acknowledge and recognize and, sort of treat those scared parts of ourselves with compassion rather than as enemies to be beaten. I believe me, I take a very adversarial tone in my own brain all the time, and it's never helpful. It's never helpful. So, wild and crazy idea, I know, but I thought that maybe this year I would try taking a kinder approach to myself. So I'll keep you posted, but I hope that you're able to do something similar too. We struggle with that. We struggle with feeling like we can get the things done that we want to get done. We struggle with feeling like we have earned rest time or time to focus on other things that are not this big thing that we want to do. And of course, that's just not how many of our brains work, yeah, so just trying to, I already tell you to listen to the signals your body and your brain are sending you when you're exercising, and I'm embarrassed that it never occurred to me to take that same advice and apply it to, just interacting with my brain throughout the rest of my life, but now it has. So now we're working on that, and now I give you that same recommendation for for your brains. Oh, just harnessing that new year energy. All right, my friends. It's Perpetual Motion. It's a class where we never stop moving. Woo woo. If this is your first time at this class, hello, welcome. So our Perpetual Motion class is just that. So normally when we would finish a set, you know, the ending horn would blow on the timer and you go, all right, cool, I can stand around, maybe stretch out a little bit, take some water, you know, sort of chill while Blanche sets up the next series. But in Perpetual Motion class, when we come to the end of a timer, instead we go into an active rest exercise called cross jacks, and I'll demonstrate that when it becomes relevant. But the main thing to keep in mind is that from when we begin the warm-up to when the final horn goes off at the very end of class, we do not stop moving. So you're going to need to pay attention to how you're managing your energy output. You know, there is a balance to be struck between wanting to challenge ourselves and push ourselves and also wanting to make sure that we have enough energy to make it through the entirety of class. So things to think about. So don't come into class going, all right, you know, I'm going to go for 150%. Because you'll be miserable and then you won't come back, and that's not good for any of us. So let's do our pre-class checklist. Hey, yeah, we've got our water. I have been hydrating like gangbusters all day today, which is really nice. And it honestly may mean that I drink a little bit less during class than I usually do, because I'm feeling very hydrated right now, which is a change from what usually happens. But make sure you have your water in whatever vessel you want to carry it in. We're in our homes. We can have our water in whatever we want to. It's amazing. Make sure you got your comfy clothes on. You've got your mat or your mat-sized space on the floor. And if you use a fitness wearable, now is the time to turn it on to high intensity interval training. There we go. Yes, I know. Hey, I've got a hand-me-down new watch, and it's giving me a lot of notifications that I haven't had to look at in a while. So every time one comes up, I'm like, oh my God, you need to go away. All right. Yeah, new week, new energy. You know, lots of things that we need to pay attention to, things that we need to fight for. More miscarriages of justice in terms of police just being able to murder black people in cold blood and get away with it, which is definitely something that we need to put as much energy towards fighting as we can. And part of building that energy starts right here, my friends. Right here, gathering together, exercising a little bit, and taking care of ourselves so that we can take care of our community. So let's get going with our warm-up. Haha. So remember, as I said, once we begin the warm-up, we're moving for the rest of class. Well, you're moving for the rest of class. I will stop moving every once in a while. Do not follow my lead, okay? I get to do that. I'm the teacher. I have to talk and exercise the whole time. So I get to add a little rest in for myself. All right, my dears. Everybody on your backs, on your mats, 1 foot crossed over the opposite knee, and as soon as you hear that horn, we will begin with our hip rocks and bridges, okay? Hiya! Yeah! Here we go. Warming up into a new year. So, again, talking about being able to manage our energy output so that we are able to do the entirety of class. Because here's the thing. It is, in the long run, far more useful for you to be able to get through everything that is planned for class, and maybe have to ramp your energy down lower than you want to, than, you know, just be chomping at the bit, take off sprinting, and barely be able to get through the warm-up before you're like, oh my God, I can't keep going, okay? So when I talk to new students, I tell them, all right, so switch feet here and keep doing the same thing. But I tell them to focus in on the bare minimum for their first few classes. Like, generally I recommend that for at least a few weeks, depending on how often you're taking class. And what that means, it means 3 things, okay? It means starting on time, it means stopping on time, so not stopping the movement until you get that horn saying, okay, you can stop doing this movement, and doing the exercise correctly. And that's it, all right? That's all I want you to focus on if you are a new student, because those 3 components, first of all, that will give you more than enough of a workout, okay? That's all you need to get a really excellent workout out of this class. And to get that workout without feeling so miserable, either during class or, you know, in the days and week that follow, that you're like, oh God, I don't want to do that again, okay? Our goal is to be able to set up a habit. Our goal is to have this be a regular component of your schedule, of your life. And you're not gonna want to do that if you don't enjoy the experience. So part of the reason that we focus on the bare minimum is just to make sure that you don't immediately go, oh, that's too hard, or oh, you know, that's too intense or too painful, etc., etc. The other reason is that we're creating the foundation that will carry you as safely as possible through as much of your life as you want to be active and mobile and fit, okay? And believe me, that can be a huge portion of your life. But when we're approaching fitness as something that we want to be a part of our lives for the entirety of our lives, then we want to make sure that we're approaching it as intelligently and as safely as possible, okay? So I don't want you immediately trying to show off how many reps you can do of something when you don't have a full understanding of what the form is for the exercise. Because if you're doing 20 reps of an exercise and you're doing them wrong, then A, you're training your body to do the exercise incorrectly, and you're working that into your muscle memory, and you'll have to rework that programming later on. But you're also potentially setting yourself up for an injury. And the biggest thing that I want to help people avoid as much as possible is injury. And there's no way to 100% avoid it. Absolutely not. It is simply not possible. But we can do plenty to mitigate it, to minimize that risk. And it starts by going, all right, I am going to really deliberately focus in on my form, on not trying to immediately, you know, be the best HIIT class participant who ever participated in a HIIT class, but instead focus in on, what am I doing? Why am I doing it? What are the sensations that I'm feeling as I do these exercises? Am I actually feeling engagement and activation in the muscles that she's telling me I should feel it in? And if not, what does that tell me? Maybe it tells me that I'm not actually using the right muscle group to do that exercise. But we want to have the time to actually pay that focused attention to what we're doing and how we're doing it. So it is, I will emphasize form over and over and over again. All right, if you take class with me for long enough, you will get to know this about me. Although, you know, even if this is your very first class, it's probably pretty obvious already. So my goal is always to help people work exercise into their lives as a really strong tool in their toolbox for remaining healthy and active and mobile, so that you can go out and do whatever you want to do, whether that's, you know, being able to climb the really steep staircase in your house when you're 70, or running around and playing with kids or grandkids, or hiking a 14er here in Colorado, or any number of things. I want to help you be able to do all of that, to live that life, to not feel constrained by injury and poor fitness. And part of that is recognizing that we don't have to get to the end goal right away, because there really isn't an end goal. You know, when we're over here going, I want to be fit for the rest of my life, that is going to be an ongoing part of my journey. That's going to be an ongoing part of my life. And so I'm not working towards, you know, some ultimate goal where I hit this point and then, you know, the music swells and they go, and they lived happily ever after and never had to work out again. That's not what we're going for. So because of that, I need to shift how I approach it. I need to shift how I approach what my goals are for fitness. And I want to remind myself that I don't have to be perfect at everything right off the bat. I don't have to be amazingly strong or have an intuitive understanding of every single exercise that's given to me. I can and should work up to things and be honest with myself about where I am, how I'm feeling, how my muscles are feeling, and use that to inform my approach towards fitness in the short and the long term, okay? So we're not here to immediately have all the answers. We are here to learn, and to learn sustainably, right? We want this to be sustainable. So we are going to try and decouple ourselves from the really, really negative outlooks of, well, you have to be perfect right away, or what's the point of doing the thing, right? Oh, man. Whew. That's one of the reasons why, you know, this time of year is really tricky. And I've talked a lot about that the last couple of weeks. We don't have to really dive into my lectures on resolutions and the cold turkey approach to trying to do something, which almost never works for the majority of us. So let's just focus on, we're here because we want to feel strong and powerful in our bodies, and to be impressed by what they can do, which is a lot. Look, the human body is a fascinating construction. Oh my goodness. So yeah, and there's nothing wrong with having goals that for your fitness for 2021. You know, if you've been taking class with me for a while, you may be at the place where you're like, okay, I feel really ready to start challenging myself more and, you know, create a few more specific goals that I can work towards in my fitness practice. And that's awesome. Goal setting has a lot of positive impacts, or can. You know, we can get these, you know, success endorphin rushes from achieving things. Obviously, if you're working towards a goal, even if you don't hit the specific target, you are still improving, you're still strengthening, you're still growing your abilities. And so it's sort of the ultimate win-win situation. But, you know, just people are not designed for continuous growth. I mean, nothing is. We're on a planet with finite resources. The only thing that believes that continuous growth is either possible or desirable is late-stage capitalism. So you may also get to a place where you're like, you know, I am really comfortable with where my fitness is right now. I feel strong enough for all of the things that I want to do. I feel healthier, you know, I feel like I have more strength, more stamina, and I really just want to maintain this, you know. I think that, and I think I have found the level of performance that I am comfortable staying at. And that's also a great thing to recognize, all right? To recognize that you do not have to be constantly trying to ramp up and ramp up and ramp up until you explode, because nobody can keep doing that forever and ever and ever. If you've reached the point where you're like, yeah, I'm happy where I am and I just want to maintain this, that's awesome. And you should do that. And if down the line you go, you know, I'm feeling a little bit bored, a little bit tired with my routine, I think I may want to introduce some new goals, introduce some new challenges, give myself something to work for again, then you can do that. You see, none of this, we're not creating immutable rules that we have to follow for the rest of our lives. And again, when we talk about listening to our brains and our bodies, part of that is recognizing that the things that we enjoy activity-wise may change over the years, and that's totally fine. And maybe they don't. Maybe you are still, you know, maybe you started running in high school and you are still running today and you're like, this is my favorite activity and I love it. And that's awesome. But if you've been running since high school and you go, gosh, I'm just not feeling inspired by this anymore. I'm not feeling like I'm enjoying it. I really want to try something different or take a break from this for a little bit. Then absolutely do that, okay? We do not have to do the same activities for our entire lives. And variation is a huge component of keeping ourselves engaged, keeping ourselves excited about what we're doing. So never be afraid to change things up. Whew. All right, we are at the end of our warm-up. So when that final horn goes off, we will go straight into our cross jacks. So if you've never done those, just stand up and watch me, okay? Whew. Oh yeah. All right, so for our cross jacks, just a small jump, jump your feet out and in, crossing one in front of the other, out and in, reversing which foot is in front. And we're doing the same thing with the arms, out, in, okay? You can modify if you need to. You can do the arms while just jumping from foot to foot, or you can even just do this sort of side to side jump. Just make sure that you are moving the whole time. Woo! All right. And make sure you're still drinking water. All right, I know it's a lot harder when you're bouncing around the whole time. And no, you cannot stop moving in order to drink, all right? If you've ever run a road race of any kind, you know how it feels to try and awkwardly drink some water while you're moving, bouncing up and down. So just don't try to drink super quickly, and don't do huge cross jacks. Again, active is an important part of this description, but rest is also an important part. We are using the cross jacks to bring our breathing back under control, to bring our heart rate down, to get closer to a resting state. Not all the way there, because we're still moving, but closer, okay? So we are very, very much not going for high intensity and huge movements here, okay? All right. We're gonna be running up and down a mountain today. So perpetual motion sets. We'll start with 30-second work intervals, 3 exercises, 3 times through. And the first exercise is kick-throughs, which is great. You just did kick-throughs, so you know what they are and how they're supposed to feel. So I don't have to dig into that for you. Second exercise is going to be side-to-side superheroes. So we lie on one side and extending our arms and our legs, and then we lift our arms and legs off the floor. Roll over your back. Your abs, your core is engaged, so it is really lifting arms and legs, and then up onto your other side, and just go back and forth and back and forth, okay? You don't have to stay in a straight line when you're on your side. I usually sort of bow myself into a U shape just for added balance, because we are going for some speed and momentum. And then third exercise, side-to-side planks. So we start from a front plank position, shoulders directly over our wrists. Let your heels fall to the side. Come up on one arm, other arm stretches up towards the ceiling, and then through the center to the other side. And we just go back and forth and back and forth. All right, so those are our exercises. Kick-throughs, side-to-side superheroes, side-to-side planks. So as soon as you hear the horn go off, you will switch from cross jacks. You're still doing cross jacks, and now we go right down and into our kick-throughs. So one of the really big things for us to work on when we do this class is minimizing the amount of time that it takes us to switch from one exercise to the other, right? Because we're not getting to stop in the way that we do when we're doing a Tabata interval. We have to keep moving until we hear the horn, and then keep moving again. Ugh. This is why I don't give this exercise that frequently, because my mat setup is not good for it. It's a little bit too narrow and also too high off the floor. So I roll off of it, and you know, it's not a huge drop, but it's enough that my balance gets thrown out of whack. So if you are struggling with that, don't worry, you're in very good company. And one of the things I might recommend is trying to remove some of the extra padding, or trying to get a wider mat setup. All right, either of those is effective. Just depends on what makes the most sense for you. So, all right, second time through. Oh my God, it was in the low 50s today, and I feel it. It is just so warm in the apartment right now, and wow, you can tell more in the winter when there are unseasonably warm days, because everybody's mostly using their heat, so the ambient temperature of the building is already a lot higher than it usually is. And I'm feeling it right now. Looking forward to the new streaming setup that I will have in just a few weeks. I believe I will be a little better able to control the temperature in that setup. Woo! Oh my goodness. Speaking of big changes, big change energy in 2021. There's nothing like a move to really kick off that attention to change, and I am definitely feeling it in a very, very good way. Although I did hear a moving horror story today from my therapist, who was he and his spouse moved during quarantine as well, and discovered basically on the day that they were loading the last of their stuff into the moving trucks, and we're like, okay, you know, all this stuff is being driven up to the new place tomorrow. And that was when they discovered that the person they bought the house from had written their move-out date incorrectly in their calendar, and was not at all packed. And so they had to go up there and use their movers. All right, back to those cross jacks, friends. No pausing, no extra breaks in there, just you are cross jacking. So yeah, they had to go up there with their movers, and he and his partner, and they had to just move this person's stuff out of the house onto the living room so they could get their own stuff. And it was just, I was like, that is a harrowing tale, and I'm really glad that I don't have to worry about that. All right, woo! Make sure you're drinking your water, okay? It's so important. It is so, so important. We are already so bad at hydrating, okay? So Really try and keep that going. Okay, so our next set, still perpetual motion, 45-second work intervals this time, and still 3 exercises, still 3 times through. Okay, so just a different set of exercises. All right, so the first exercise is going to be a high knee run. This is a little more cardio than I usually put in the perpetual motion class, so just keep that in mind. So we are just running in place and lifting those knees. You'll see that this is kind of a cousin to the Flaming Scarlet. I'm lifting my knees up above the crease in my hips. And I guess that would be the aspirational version, but just focus on lifting your knees as high as you can, okay? And we're just running in place. Second exercise is going to be TikToks. So we come up here in a balance on our tailbones in this pike position, arms straight to one side of your knees, hands together, and we lean backwards just far enough that we can move our arms to the other side without bending at the elbows or lifting, then back up to the full balance, and back and forth and back and forth, okay? And then our third exercise, you will need a chair of some kind or a couch, just something to put your hands off of. Given that most of us are in our living rooms or bedrooms, you probably have something close to hand. So we're going to do tricep dips off of this. So I'm putting my hands facing forward, so my fingertips are pointing away. If I was flexing my hand, my fingertips would be pointing away from the chair. I'm bringing my feet out a little bit so that when I lower into this dip, I'm not coming all the way down to the ground. All right? Lower, lift, lower, lift. All right, those are our 3. High knee run, and then TikToks, and then tricep dips. So everybody is still doing your cross jacks or whatever version of it you've been doing. And now we go right into that high knee run. Now, this is one of those exercises, there are not a ton of form notes I'm going to give you besides the height of the knees. But this is one of those exercises where we go, it's not a core exercise, but I still benefit from making sure that my core is engaged, that it is engaging, helping to pull those knees up towards my chest and just keep all of my limbs moving in predictable patterns, right? So that I'm not like kicking my arms or my feet out in unexpected directions. So just something to think about while you're doing that exercise. This is obviously a core exercise, though you will feel intensity in your quads, okay? If you're doing this and you're like, oh my God, am I using the right muscles? Because what I'm feeling is a lot of quad. I mean, it's also possible you're not actually using your core, but it is also likely that you will feel a lot of quad intensity on that exercise. So definitely check in. Again, when we think about doing the exercise correctly, part of that is making sure that we are using the correct muscle groups to drive the movement. But just because there is one primary muscle group driving the movement does not mean that there aren't a bunch of other muscle groups that are also participating in the fun. So again, it is so important to really try and focus in on everything that's happening in your body when you do different exercises, okay? We tend to just really think about, like, again, the main muscle group that we're expecting to use. And that's an important one, obviously, and that's the one that is seeing the most benefit from whatever exercise that we're doing. But our muscle groups are not in vacuums. They are not systems unto themselves. Our entire body is a system, and every area has a role to play in every exercise, even if that role is just stabilize so that nothing else is moving but the main muscle group. That's still a role, and that still is important, and that still has physical manifestations and impacts what you feel when you're doing the exercise. So really, really try and open your brain, focus on the specific areas we're working, and then open your brain past those areas and go, what else is happening in my body right now? What else am I feeling? Where else is there tension and intensity? Is it somewhere I was expecting, or is it somewhere that feels really unexpected to me? Okay? And use this to learn more about yourself and about where your strength is and where your strengths are and where your opportunities for improvement are, because we all have them. And that's, you know, a big part of why many of us are here, to work on improving those areas. And that's awesome. But in order to be able to improve those areas, you need to actually know where they are and what they are, and, you know, what are the differences on one side of your body versus the other. Because as you've heard me say many, many times, we are not, in fact, symmetrical creatures, okay? We have stronger sides and weaker sides. We have more flexibility and less flexibility in different joints. And it is so, so important for us to be able to recognize that and to know how to work through it, right? So these are the things that you need to know, and you need to keep paying attention to as you keep going, as you keep working out, as you get stronger, you know. There's definitely a tendency for us to, as we get more experience, assume or start to believe that we are experts and that we know everything that's happening in our bodies without having to pay attention. And that's simply not true. I don't care how long you've been doing this. There are still things for you to learn. There are still areas for you to improve. And you should, in my estimation, approach every new exercise or class as a beginner. And maybe you're a beginner who picks things up quickly, which is great, but do not assume that you know everything just because you've been at this for a while. There's always more to learn. Keep that curiosity, my friends. Curiosity is gonna do so much for us in the long run. Whew. Okay. Boy, howdy. Look at me. I was all cocky before class and like, oh yeah, I've been hydrating so much today. I'm not going to need to drink that much water. Shows what I know. All right. So we've reached the summit of the mountain. 1 minute work intervals. All right. Everything else the same. 3 exercises, 3 times through. 1 minute work intervals. So get ready for a little bit of intensity. So first thing we are going to do is wide leg squat with a knee turn. So we're taking a similar squat position to what we do in the warm-up. Make sure those knees are pulled backwards. They're going straight over your feet. Arms extended. And I'm going to turn one knee towards the side. So now I'm in this double bent leg lunge. And I've brought my arms together. And then back to the center. And then other side. And back to the center. And I'm going to go back and forth between those 2 sides. Okay? Second, I'm going to do push-ups to a downward dog. So we're gonna take a plank or go from the knees. You can do just a straight up plank push-up, or you can do half plank, half wave, all wave, what have you. When you're done with the push-up, push back into a downward dog, then back to that plank, push up, downward dog, and we just go back and forth, okay? And then third exercise, similar starting position to the TikToks, we're doing boat rocks. So, but this time, when we're in that balance position, I want to contract my abdominals so that it rounds my lower back, because I am then going to roll onto my back and then back up to this balance. But I need those abs, that core, engaged the whole time in maintaining that rounded shape, because if I let go of that and straighten my back, then I'm stuck on the floor. And that's not what we want, okay? So, those are our exercises. Wide squat with the knee turn, push-ups to a downward dog, and boat rocks. 1 minute work intervals, okay? So we're cross-jacking, we're getting ourselves mentally prepared, and now here we go. Side to side. We don't have to be rushing the movement, okay? Because again, we're going for perpetual motion. We want to keep going the whole time, all right? Make sure that you've engaged your core, you're keeping your torso nice and straight, all right? And make sure that you are breathing, not as much on things where we do have movement, but as we slow down, as we do slower exercises, we do have a tendency to start moving towards trying to hold our breaths. And let me tell you, your body needs all the oxygen that you can give it. So definitely make sure that you're still breathing. Try to have that breathing under control, okay? And I think you know what I mean by that, because we've all had the experience of pushing ourselves super intensely, and then ending whatever exercise we're working on and going, oh my God, I cannot catch my breath right now. So when we're doing these really slow, steady exercises, consider that an opportunity for you to practice getting your breath under control. All right? Now, boat rocks are an exercise where it is really, really easy for us to compensate for core weakness by using other muscle groups and then getting to the end and being like, wow, I don't really feel anything. I must be really, really strong in the core. And 9 times out of 10, that's not actually what it is. You're just not using the correct muscle group. And I speak from experience because, quite frankly, that's how boat rocks felt for me. Basically until last year. Until last year, when I really started putting much more focused attention on what muscle groups I was using when I was doing my core exercises, and discovered 2 things. One, that there was so much more space for me to strengthen my core, which I've always thought of as one of my strongest muscle groups, but there was so much more room for me to improve. And 2, that a lot of exercises where I was like, oh, I just don't feel it here because my core is so strong, were actually, I wasn't feeling it because I wasn't actually using it. So I talk a lot about making sure you're engaging the core, and it's because it is truly the easiest muscle group to overlook, essentially. You know, when I'm doing a curl, I can't not use my bicep, at least for some of it. Like, there are ways to unhealthily try and compensate with other muscle groups, but at the, forgive me, core of the exercise is that bicep contraction. But when we're doing abdominal exercises, too frequently, we're trying to pull ourselves forward using our head, our neck, our arms, our legs, anything but the actual abdominals. It's one of the reasons why I love the slow leg lower so much, because that is an exercise where it is not possible for us to be compensating with anything else. If you're not engaging the core, you're not performing the exercise, and it's really easy to tell, and that's super helpful. That's super helpful. Honestly, if you're looking to strengthen your core, I recommend just trying to lay down once or twice a day and just try to do the slow leg lower for 30 seconds, a minute, whatever you have the time for. And you will definitely start to notice the difference. And then you'll start to notice that core engagement in everything that we do here. And it's really exciting. I feel like I am much more in tune with my body now that I've really strengthened up this particular muscle group that is so critical for both stabilizing us and generating force for rotation and movement. So there we go. Blanche's weekly advertisement for strengthening your core. Look, it's awesome. It makes you feel a little bit like Chris Evans, you know. And this exercise you know that you haven't skipped leg day, so you can feel doubly like Chris Evans. And he seems like a very nice lad. I actually have a few friends who went to high school with him. And so, even before he was, whatever the guy who turns into fire in the Fantastic Four is, when he was just starting to be cast in things, my friends would be like, oh yeah, I went to high school with that guy. And of course now it's like, wow, you went to high school with one of the biggest stars of the MCU. That's a hell of a thing. But yeah, he's one of those people who I truly hope is a good person, you know, because he seems like a very nice person, and it would just be really sad to me if it turned out that he, you know, shot puppies or something like that. So fingers crossed that anything bad that Chris Evans has ever done is of the garden variety. Humans are complicated creatures, and not I like to go out and, you know, light poor people on fire or something. How did we get on this conversational topic? I don't even know. I hope I'm still doing the right exercises. I think I am. But I definitely lost a little bit of track of where we are or why I started talking about Chris Evans. Oh, that's right. Because we're not skipping leg day. All right, back to those cross jacks, my friends. There you are, there you are. Oof. Oh, that's cool. I mean, I'm not surprised. We probably know you're from Rhode Island. We probably know a lot of people who went to high school with Chris Evans. Yeah, a couple, one person I went to Brown with, and then one of her friends who I met afterwards. Water. All right. So as I told you, that was the summit of our mountain. And now we start our descent. And the good news is, we're going back to 45-second work intervals. And we're going back to those same exercises that we did. So for our 45-second work intervals, we're doing high knee runs, TikToks, and tricep dips off of a chair or a bed or a sofa, whatever you have available, okay? So this is a second opportunity to work on these exercises to see how it changes the quality of the work when you're a little more tired. And to get a second run at hammering home on form. So yeah. See, I like this because I don't have to re-demonstrate. You all know what we're about. All right, so let's get ourselves going. So we're cross-jacking. Remember, we start with the high knee runs as soon as you hear the horn. And again, we do not have to be lifting our knees all the way above the crease in our hips, okay? Basically, the way that you can increase the challenge rating for this exercise is the higher you bring your knees. But there are other things that are challenging, like doing a more intensively cardio exercise in a class where we are already moving the entire time. So, you know, choose your battles. Okay? Choose your battles wisely, and maybe your focus right now is just on continuing to move the whole time rather than increasing the intensity of the activity. Okay? Whew. Yeah. Now we're doing our TikToks. So, how does this feel second time through? How does the strength of your abdominal muscles feel? Are you feeling more fatigue, or are you going, I'm not as fatigued as I thought I would be. Maybe I need to really focus on fully engaging with my core. All right? Again, every time we go through an exercise is an opportunity for us to learn more about the exercise itself and about how we feel performing it and about what we need to do to improve it, okay? Oh man. Yeah. Intense. Oh, such a good class today, but an intense one. Perpetual motion is no joke, my dears. I want you always, always to pat yourself on the back, both sides, because to get through this class is a hell of a thing, and you should always be proud of that, all right? Moving, this is why HIIT classes usually have so much rest built into them, right? Because we go, 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 a lot of intensity, a lot of sprinting, and then we get that rest, and we get to sort of reset and refresh. But in this class, that resetting and refreshing is still moving, okay? So we have to shift our approach and shift our success parameters, which is always totally fine, okay? We are not going to come into every single class and have the same success parameters each time. And this is where I get on my high horse about how wrong I think it is to tell students to, leave your mental baggage at the door. You're just here now. This is all that there is. No. Nobody's like that. Nobody's brains are like that. We do not just drop things like a hot potato. You may be good at compartmentalizing, which can be a good and a bad thing, depending, but even the act of compartmentalizing still has mental impact on you, okay? And that impact still feeds into how your body feels and how it's going to perform. So I don't want you to leave your baggage at the door. I want you to come into class, to get on that mat, and to be honest with yourself about where you are and how you're feeling, and to be honest with yourself about what success feels like to you given where you are and how you're feeling. And always allow for the possibility that that success parameter may change, and it may change during class, okay? I may be having a really rough day, and I may get into class and start out and go, oh man, I'll consider it a win if I can make it all the way through class while doing everything, but I don't have it in me to really push for extra intensity. And maybe I take that approach for the warm-up and then go, whoa, I feel a little bit energized, and I think I actually do have it in me to push a little harder, to challenge myself a little more. And then you can update what your success parameters are. Or maybe you get to the end of that warm-up and you go, yeah, I was right. I just really need to focus on being able to do all the things and just use that as my success criteria. And that is totally, totally fine, okay? As we go back to our cross checks, that is totally fine. That is a totally valid way to approach class. It is not something you should feel guilty about. It's not something where you should feel like, I'm not going to get as good of a workout as I could have. Again, if all you are doing is the bare minimum, you're still getting an awesome workout. And that doesn't change, okay? Even as we're further along in our fitness journey, that's still going to be a good workout. It's still getting your blood pumping and your breath coming a little faster. It's still moving your muscles, moving your body through space. And that is always valuable, all right? So be honest with yourself, always, when you come into class. Be honest with yourself about where you are, about what you're feeling, about what is impacting you positively or negatively or neutrally, and take that into account, okay? Woo! So, we are back around, heading back to the trailhead, and we've just got one more thing to do. And you know what it is? 30-second work intervals, kick-throughs, side-to-side superheroes, side-to-side planks, all right? So just 4.5 minutes, and we are done. And then we can stretch a little bit. Woo-wee. Oh, all right. I'm gonna kick this out of the way a little bit so that maybe I can do side-to-side superheroes without falling over. Okay, my loves, you are on the home stretch. So from your cross jacks and now down to kick throughs. And again, how does this feel different after everything else that we've done in class today, okay? For me, my arms are feeling it. We've done a lot of intense arm work today, and as I come back around to kick-throughs, I have to put a lot more focus into keeping my shoulders engaged and making sure that I am not letting myself just sort of fall all over the place in that shoulder socket and potentially setting myself up for shoulder injuries, which, let me tell you, are no friggin' fun. No, 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 no. So, yeah. Oh, again, we always want to start an interval by really looking at where we are and how that is impacting our ability to maintain form, okay? Form is our non-negotiable It is the thing that we care about more than anything else. I would rather you give me 2 perfect examples of an exercise than 20 that are done incorrectly, all right? So always, always, even if you've done this exact series of exercises already in class, always touch base as you start back in and go, oh wow, you know, the intensity of some of the other arm work that we've done is really having an impact on my shoulder stamina, or ooh, these side-to-side superheroes feel a little harder now that I've worked my core a little more intensely. And then figure out how to draw yourself back together, to anchor yourself with that form, and to move forward. Oh my goodness. And the good news is, my friends, that when we begin the next exercise, going back to those kick-throughs, it will be our final time through these exercises. And once that final horn blows, you get to stop moving. Oh my goodness, how exciting is that? We are almost there to the very end, and then we'll do some stretching, a little bit of cool down to just take care of ourselves as we come out of class, and then we'll be done for the night. Oh, how awesome and exciting is that? Ooh. Side-to-side superheroes are not a graceful exercise. If you're over there going, oh God, I feel like a fish flapping around out of water, like surely this can't be how it's supposed to be. Don't worry, I too feel like a fish flapping out of water. But now we are here to our side-to-side planks, finishing up a really awesome, intense first perpetual motion of 2021, getting the year off to a good start. Oh, good job, everybody. All right. Let me set my mats back together. Okay, what do I want to do? We're already on the floor. So let's stretch our legs out in front of us, straight in front of us, and you can flex your feet a little bit, okay? And you want to have as little like bend in the knees as possible, but it's going to depend on the flexibility of your hamstrings. So, you know, if you're legitimately like, this is where my legs are, that's fine. And as you keep working, you'll probably get some additional flexibility. So I'm going to extend my arms out, and I'm just gonna fold over my legs, grabbing my feet if that's an option. When you're folded over, so you're gonna feel the stretch in the hamstrings, obviously. When you're folded over, I want you to take a hand to each quad and shake it around a little bit and just confirm that you are not clenching your legs, okay? Again, we are trying to stretch, which means that we are trying to do the opposite of what our muscles do when they're clenching and activating, okay? So you want to make sure that you're not accidentally holding those muscles. All right, so we're going to take 4 deep breaths here, and each time we exhale, Just try and sink a little bit closer to your legs, okay? Here we go. That's 1. That's 2. That's 3. And 4. Roll back up. And now let's take a wide stance with our legs, okay? So now we're going to be feeling the stretch on the inside of the thighs, okay? And what we're going to do is I'm going to reach one arm towards my foot and bend over at the waist, keeping my shoulders opened out, okay? So not letting this shoulder come in. And I'm going to reach this arm up and across. So now I've really lengthened the stretch along my side, okay? Getting some of the lat in there. Oh, man. All right. And let's take those 4 breaths. That's 1. That's 2. That's 3. And 4. Now you can let that hand down, turn the shoulders towards that leg, and fold over, okay? And we want our shoulders squared towards the ground, both knees pointing up towards the ceiling. And just hold here. Let's just take 2 breaths here, okay? Here we go. That's 1. And 2. Walk your hands up, back towards the center. Now we reach towards the other side, up and across, and feel that stretch. Woof! You feel it? I definitely feel it, that's for sure. All right, let's take those 4 deep breaths, okay? Here we go. That's 1. That's 2. That's 3. And 4. Let that hand come down to the floor. Turn your shoulders squared and lean over that leg. So now we've got that stretch in the hamstring again, but just one leg at a time instead of both. Let's take those 2 breaths here. Here we go. That's 1. And 2. All right. You can shake those knees out a little bit. And I think that we're good to go, my friends. Woo! Oh, man. That was a good class. I don't know about you, but I definitely was working hard, and I can feel it. Yeah. Oh, I just noticed that originally I had listed those push-ups to the downward dog to be push-ups to a one-arm downward dog, And, I think I'm okay with having changed that accidentally. I think we had a good arm day, we had a good leg day, we had a good core day, and we had a nice, well-rounded day, my friends. And it's just, I'm feeling a lot of gratitude for getting to start the year like this. When I think about where I was at this time last year, and I am light years away from that place. I was in a very scared place and trying to hide that from myself. I didn't know what I wanted to do with this personal trainer certification, or if I wanted to keep going with it. I was feeling not demoralized, but just I didn't have the joy of it anymore. And one of the few good things that came out of last year was really getting the opportunity to reinvigorate myself. And this just feels like the culmination of that. I can look back at that person at the beginning of last year and go, I know that you're confused and a little sad and you don't really know what's going on or what to expect, but there are some good things coming your way. And I am very grateful to be starting the year in a better place than I started last year. And I hope that you are also able to do that. And if you're not, which is also understandable because we're coming out of 2020, aka the year that lasted a decade, then I hope that this class can help to ground you. And I hope that it can help you to maybe feel like you are able to take charge of something in your life, and that you can maybe use that as a springboard for anything else that you want to do. Because we can all use that help sometimes. I know that I could. And I've been very lucky to be getting that help from friends and loved ones. And one of my favorite things about doing this is the opportunity to help others in that way. So yeah, a good kickoff to our first full week of 2021. I'm excited for you to see everything in store. There's going to be just so much happening. It's going to be a good year. I can feel it. All right, my loves. I'd say that it's time for a good shower and some dinner. So there are 3 more classes this week, the usual schedule. So tomorrow, Wednesday, at 4:30 p.m. Mountain Time is Jump Around, our weekly cardio class. Then Friday at 6 p.m. is Functional Home Fitness, where we do weight training using objects you can find around the house. And then Saturday morning at 9 a.m. is the weekend kickoff, which is our awesome strength and stamina focused bodyweight class. It's one of my favorite classes of the week, so I highly recommend at least trying it out. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. All of those handles will be in my end cards, but they're all variations on Blanche Case Fitness. My YouTube channel, Blanche Case Fitness, is where I upload all of the VODs from these streams, so you never have to miss a class, even if you're not able to make the live broadcast. So definitely head over there and subscribe. Oh, yes, I am done with that workout. If you want to help support me financially in making these streams, I do have a coffee account, Blanche Case Fitness. Your donations are always very much appreciated, especially this month as I move to a new home and, all of the attendant costs that come with that. I will also be launching a Patreon. I have mentioned that it may take a little longer for me to get out than I had intended because, again, January is going to be kind of a busy month for me, but I'm going to get that live as soon as I can. And if you want to help keep growing the community, keep getting us towards that final Twitch affiliate metric, then please do follow the channel. Tell your friends, loved ones, coworkers, anyone looking for an awesome strength and stamina focused bodyweight class. I stream 4 days a week. It's always a wonderful time. Even if you're not working out, come and hang out. Hang out in the chat. We talk about all sorts of things from fitness tips to breaking down white supremacy. So you never know what we're going to talk about. And it's always a good time. It's a wonderful community that we're building here. So definitely would love to have you along from the ride. All right. Let's shower. Let's get some food. Make sure to finish your water and refill it and drink some more water. Make sure that you are staying home as much as possible. I recognize that not everybody is able to. And I'm so sorry that we live in such a fucked up country that we put money ahead of human lives. So if you do have to leave your house, please always wear a mask, always wash your hands, stay 6 feet apart at least from people, minimize the amount of time that you have to spend indoors with people who are not the people you live with. It's hard. It's been 10 months, or it will be 10 months in like a week, and it's fucking hard, but now is the time, now more than any other time during this, any deaths or long-term debilitation that come from this pandemic are truly needless. We have a vaccine. It's being rolled out, but it's going to take time. It's going to take time. It's not a one and done. You have to get 2 doses. They happen multiple weeks apart. Even after the second dose, you need to give it some time to fully move through your body to become as effective as possible. We cannot take our eyes off of that ball right now, my friends. We have to keep caring for ourselves. We have to keep taking care to be as safe as possible in all things, not just around the pandemic. You know, there are horrifying stories coming out of LA County right now where they're saying that 1 in 5 people is infected with COVID. The hospitals are full. If you get in a car wreck and break your leg, there will be no room for you at the hospital. Okay? So we need to take care of ourselves, not just with regards to COVID, but keeping fit, exercising, trying to eat as well as we possibly can, making sure that we're taking our medications on time, checking in on older relatives and seeing if we can do any outdoor chores for them or do grocery runs for them. We need to keep everyone as safe and as healthy as possible until such time as we can get the vaccine out in enough numbers that we can finally start to relax a little bit. But we're not there yet, all right? So let's stick together. Let's keep doing this. I know it's exhausting, but you know what? We've got this class, and I tell you, I get a lot of energy out of this class, and I hope you do too. So thank you for being here. Thank you for being safe. Thank you for taking care of your communities. If you live in Georgia, thank you for voting. And I will see you all back here again tomorrow. Mwah. Have a great night.